Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share with you a story that happened to me when I was a rebellious 13-year-old, but I remember this story like it was yesterday. I used to be a somewhat rebellious teenager and had always been fascinated in the supernatural. In addition to doing typical rebellious teenage things like sneaking out, skipping class, I also began listening to heavy metal music and still do. The distinction at that point in my life is that I started getting deeper and deeper into Satan-worshiping music, not satanic. I was raised as a Christian and still attended church on most Sundays due to my parents forcing me to go. I by no means believed that much, which is part of the reason I assume I started going down the path I took. The more I listened to these bands and lyrics, the fascinated I became with the occult, specifically Satan worship. Being the dumb and naive kid I was, I began praying to Satan. I had no idea what I used to be doing. I would just close my eyes and pray to him. I would ask for things that had been on the more sinister side, which I won't discuss, and I would ask for him to reveal himself to me or show me a sign that he could hear me. Over the course of a few months, I actually began to feel myself change mentally. I commenced having more and more evil thoughts, and I started out fighting with my parents, who were gorgeous parents, more often. I knew I wasn't my normal self, but I additionally justified everything in my head to normalize my thoughts and actions. The more evil I felt, the more difficult and more often I prayed to Satan until one nighttime and morning changed me to this day. It was a school night, so I said my normal nighttime prayers earlier than going to bed. Sometime around 2 to 3 a.m. I awoke from a deep sleep. I wasn't having any nightmares or dreaming. I just all of a sudden woke up with a strong feeling that something or someone used to be watching me. It wasn't a good feeling in the slightest bit. Whatever it was once felt evil and malicious. I didn't feel any temperature changes and did not hear a thing. It was just a feeling. I was in bed, dealing with the wall, so my back was turned toward my bedroom door. I was scared, but I had to seem to hopefully calm myself down and realize it was all in my head. I slowly rolled over, and standing in my doorway used to be the silhouette of a man wearing a suit and a fedora-type hat, preserving a briefcase. Although I couldn't see his facial features clearly, I may want to vaguely see the outline of a neatly trimmed beard as well. Based on my doorway, I would estimate he was 5 feet 10 inches or so. He just stood there staring at me, so I rolled over and closed my eyes, scared to demise, but I still felt his presence. I wasn't dreaming, and I never went to sleep for the relaxation of the night. Hours later, I finally rolled back over, and he was long gone, but the door was still open. Since it was once a school day, I needed to take a shower, which used to be downstairs. I was still so scared about what I may see round every corner that I literally ran to the bathe and went as fast as I could. As hard as I tried, I could by no means even close my eyes, because I was afraid of seeing him once more, and I was afraid of what I might see after opening them. I ran back upstairs to my brother's room, who slept throughout the hall from me, and wouldn't leave his aspect, which was extremely unusual for me. I requested him if he heard anything that night or ever got up for any purpose, and he denied it. I could tell he wasn't lying. He began to recognize something wasn't right with me based on my actions, questions, and likely how I looked. I can't remember what I said when he requested what was wrong, but it wasn't the truth. My brother had these days got his license, and we went to the same school, so he drove me each morning. As we headed to school, about a 30-minute drive through all urban areas such as neighborhoods, strip malls, and so forth, I just looked straight ahead. Like in the house and shower, I used to be afraid to look anywhere else but what used to be right in front of me. At some point we reached a crimson light, and like in bed, I had that same feeling that I was being watched. Once again, I had to look to, with a bit of luck, give myself comfort that it was all in my head. However, boy was I wrong. It still creeps me out as I type this. However, standing there on the corner, about 15 to 20 feet from my window, was a man wearing a darkish gray suit with a fedora-type hat and carefully shaved beard while holding a briefcase, staring right at me. I nearly had a heart attack and whipped my head around to appear straight ahead again. Seeing him literally took my breath away, like someone simply hit me in the stomach. My brother was obviously oblivious to all of this and listening to the radio loud enough that he probably never heard me gasp. As we drove off, I kept my head straight but shifted my eyes to the passenger aspect mirror, and I could still see him standing there as he slowly became his head and never took his eyes off the car until we have been out of sight. I was a mess all day. I couldn't concentrate and did not even want to go home, but when we received home later that day, I asked my dad if he ever got up that night time for any reason, specifically to check on me, and he said no. He has additionally never owned nor has he worn a fedora hat, and I always slept with my door locked. My parents had no thought I had occasionally snuck out at this point, so they had no reason to take a look at on me either. Needless to say, I immediately stopped praying to Satan and even started praying to God, although I wasn't a huge believer in either. I also stopped listening to the same music, even though ironically I still listen to some of it to this day. However, I took a long break, lol. After another month or so, I eventually began feeling normal again, and even my parents commented about how different I appeared during those months I described above. To this day, I don't understand what to think. I'm agnostic for the most part, but atheist every different day, lol. If it weren't for this story, and a few others I'll share, I would be 100% agnostic, but whatever that was once pure evil, and I don't think it's a twist of fate that I invited it into my life. Part of me wants to blow it off 30 years later and say it was all in my head, but it occurred exactly how I described it, and it wasn't a dream. Even if I rationalized that it was a dream, that doesn't give an explanation for the unlocked door or the man on the street. There's too many things that happened for me to think it wasn't real. That's it for today's story. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more story like this.